Welcome to episode 2 of the You Can't Comp This podcast. In this episode, we go round the league and check in on Denver and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Tyson Beck has his Steph Curry launch sabotaged by a bunch of robots. We deep dive into the manifesto of Josh Luber and we take a listener question. So lots to get through. Let's hit it.
News broke Monday of this LeBron James rookie card setting the world record for the most expensive basketball card ever sold. The $5.2 million ties the record for a card of any sport.
Once a schoolyard craze, now six-figure investments. Trading cards featuring sporting legends have emerged as some of the biggest money makers of the last year.
For many, they're relics of a bygone era. But sports card collecting is having a moment.
Good evening, Russell. How are you on this Tuesday night? I believe we're recording a little bit early this week.
We are recording a little bit early this week, mate, and I'm very, very well. Excited to go away on a holiday, so happy days.
Yes, and it's only been a little while since episode 1, but geez, we've got a lot to cover today.
Looks like a good show, mate.
Should be a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's
go around the league and let's have a look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. So a couple of weeks back, we spoke about Colin Sexton going down with a season-ending meniscus injury. We were talking about keeping an eye on Darius Garland and what would happen to Sexton's value. So Sexton is down 44% on his PSA 10 silvers the last 3 months, but actually has bounced back a little bit, 11% in the last month.
Oh, really? A bit of a bounce back.
I think that's that whole, once it gets to a particular price, you just can't really go past it. You know what I mean? Like you have to, if you're interested and you've been watching them for a little while, you need to get one in your pocket.
Yeah, that's fair.
So
that's fair.
For me, maybe the bigger news or the bigger story is Garland, though, because I think having that sort of two young dynamic stars in the backcourt at the same time, can put a little bit of pressure on each other, even though I don't really think they've had any animosity. Like, I think they've played together, really well.
Yeah.
But Garland, I feel as though he's the more cerebral player. In my mind, I've got Sexton as kind of like a really good Jordan Clarkson. Maybe someone's just a small step above,
Yeah.
But Garland's numbers since Sexton have been out are just amazing. So 8.6 field goals made per game on 48% shooting, 3 threes per game on 37% shooting. He's getting 3.3 rebounds, 6.9 assists, 1.3 steals, and 23 points per game. So he's just been playing outstanding basketball. And if you're a fantasy guy, that's numbers across the board that really helps you a lot. So
yeah, he's really stepped up. Clearly, I mean the stats are showing that, as expected, with the injury to Sexton, it's really sort of opened the door for Garland.
100%. Yeah.
Now, my big question is how has that impacted his Garland's card prices?
Yeah. So he's up 40% in the last 1 month.
Yep.
Silvers are up 40%, I should say, and his base is up 20%. And this is on PSA 10s.
Yeah. So there's definitely been an impact there. People seeing the change, especially with the stats.
Yeah.
This is good. This is good if you're already on Darius, I suppose, starting to reap some rewards.
Yeah. And I think probably my other thought too is that I really like feel-good stories. And I think the Cavs this year with that, in my mind, number one feel-good story this year. I didn't think they were going to do, anything half of what they've done this year. Yeah. But they had a losing streak through this. I haven't got the numbers in front of me. But the last few games, the last sort of 5 to 8 games, they've picked back up again. So they're looking really good. They're competitive again. And they're just a good team to watch.
Yeah. It's nice watching, I suppose, the younger teams that are really trying to sort of make something with young lists.
Yeah, they're actually trying to win games. And I feel as though some teams, the effort they put on the floor, they're not trying to win games, even the way the rosters are constructed, but it's pretty obvious.
Not trying to win games. Are we referring to a certain a certain team that got beaten by a record margin.
Yeah. In
That's
saying that, this
impressive,
is a
by the way.
segue now. This is our first segue of the night. But OKC have won 10 more games than what I thought they were going to win this year. I thought their record was going to be like Houston's, maybe worse.
Oh wow, yeah. I thought they'd go okay. I thought the Rockets were the big ones that were in trouble, but actually both of them have sort of done a lot more than, say, I don't know, the Pelicans.
Yeah.
That's the disappointment of the season so far. But yeah, it's good, just good to see teams competing.
So
Like
you think
young
the
teams.
Pelicans is the disappointment of the year, or Houston? Sorry, just to
No,
clarify.
I think Houston are overperforming. I didn't expect Houston to be winning games at all.
Interesting.
Or competing. So I think I think I had in my preseason predictions had Houston. Yeah, I think next to it was Houston. We have a problem. Literally, was my summary for their season.
Yep.
So it was them and Orlando that I thought were going to be complete train wrecks. But
I think
yeah,
Orlando's been fun though.
Orlando has been fun.
Yeah.
I didn't know a lot of names on that roster. That was the biggest thing. That was the scariest part about that. I think the thing about New Orleans though is they're kind of struggling without their centerpiece. So I go give them a bit of credit there and say, you know what, without Zion, it's tricky, but I don't know. It shouldn't be about one player, like your season tanking like that. So
yeah, and I think maybe the one-line summary for me for the Pelicans is that Ingram hasn't done enough in that space.
Yeah,
because he's had now all the opportunity in the world, and why hasn't he played up to that All-NBA level?
You mean like when everyone keeps used to refer to the fact that he was built similarly to Durant and had that kind of ceiling as a what, former number 2 pick?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. Lot of expectations. I really don't think he's sort of lived up to them. He's had the opportunity in New Orleans too.
Oh, 100%. There's no one else there taking shots from him.
Yeah.
You know, creating plays, rebounding. So his stats this year: 22.9 points, 6.2 rebounds, 4.7 assists. You know, definitely not bad numbers.
They're not bad, but they're serviceable. But they're not. Yeah.
Why couldn't that be 30 points a game? You know what I mean? Who else is taking shots there?
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah. All right, we've segued enough. I think we should move on to our next team.
Yes. Who else are we taking a look at?
So this is very indulgent of me, but this has been on my mind, but the Denver Nuggets. So what's been on my mind about these guys is they've been very badly hit by injury this season. Michael Porter Jr. out for the year with a back injury. Jamal Murray, we know that from last year. And then just recently, they've had PJ Dozier go out. He's a rookie this year with his ACL. So, you know, that's a significant part of their roster that's out with injury. Out at the moment is also Bol and Rivers. They're in COVID protocols. So, you know, they'll be back in a couple of weeks or whatever. But like they're heavily
they keep getting hit by injuries, and we hope that by the time this goes to air, they haven't been hit with another one, because that would be
yeah. I mean, and that can happen if you've got players in COVID protocols that sort of go
games.
down in clusters. Yeah,
they're still winning games. They're not playing bad basketball.
Their record is pretty good. That I think that's very fair to say that. Yeah.
Yeah. But the Nuggets, definitely have a lot of work to do, and a lot of I think the Michael Porter Jr., the back surgery was a big one, because we knew where Murray was at. But to have that kind of go down, I actually feel bad for him. With that kind of back surgery can really be not career ending, but it can be really detrimental to a player's career.
Yeah, it's very worrying. That's his third back surgery now.
Yeah.
He missed his entire rookie year. He missed quite a bit of his college career. So we were talking about him on the show a couple of weeks ago, and my general thought was, this is the year that he's going to prove himself. So even though his prices had started to slide, my sort of feeling was, you know, Murray's out. It's basically him and Jokic. So he can have a really good crack at this. A bit the same way about Ingram, right?
Yeah.
He's the clear-cut number 2. But his stats just weren't there. His shooting wasn't there. His percentages were off, and maybe he'd been struggling the whole year with back pain and limited mobility.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the injury, but the question is, does that hurt his does that hurt his like values moving forward? You know
Well,
what I mean?
he's sunk. He's down 56% in the last 3 months on his silver PSA 10.
Yep.
And his base is down about the same. Yeah, 57%. So his
Look,
last...
I'm not investing in that at the moment. Like, if someone with back injuries,
Yeah.
I couldn't get behind that.
His last base PSA 10 was $48. So that's a huge slide.
Wow.
The silver last sale was $218.
And that's down from what? Like over $800 back in October.
So the highest price was $840.
$840. Yep. Far out.
That's a massive slide, isn't it?
Yeah. And that's the thing, like medical complications of that nature, definitely a concern, but let's wish him well. Hopefully he gets back on the court and proves everybody wrong, and that this back surgery does fix everything, and we can see the best of him on the court.
Yeah, definitely. So on the flip side of that, I think we've sort of talked about all the doom and gloom, but I sort of went through the roster and tried to find, people who are getting a bit more opportunity.
Yep.
And there was 2 clear cut, you can't go past these 2. So Bones Highland and Zeke Naji. And I actually think we should probably start with Zeke Naji, to be honest, because Dozier is a bit more difficult just for the fact that his rookie cards aren't out yet. So
yeah, that makes it hard.
There's not a lot to comp, and really with Dozier, all you can sort of say is that, keep an eye out for when his cards come out. But I think Naji is super, super interesting because this is second year now for him.
Yeah.
And he really wasn't getting very much playing time when Porter was in, and even, to a degree, Bol. Like, I think they're the minutes that he's sort of been stepping into.
This is his opportunity window, though.
Oh, this is it. And I think he's stepping through it because he had 4 games when he was averaging around 14 minutes a game. And then in his last game, his line was 21 points, 2 steals, 8 boards, 5 3-pointers made. And that was against the Knicks on the 4th of December. So just a huge, huge uptick in his production there.
Yep, and that's what you want to see as a teammate. Yeah, that's what the Joker wants to see. He wants to see players like that step up and sort of take their opportunity, and that's where you find the next lot of stars or role players at least on a team. So what's it done for his card prices?
So he started at a very, very low mark. So his silvers were going for like $1 to sort of $2. They're up to around that $8 or $9 mark now. So percentage wise, he's right up there. That's a massive jump. 268%. He's up.
That's huge.
Yeah. Look, I'm actually very high on this, and I feel that I'm higher on this than I was 10 minutes ago. And the reason I say that is because the Nuggets have got a very good history of drafting guys and developing them. So they have pedigree.
This is, yeah.
I love a good smoky. I love guys that, have just been sort of sitting on the shelf, and I've spoken about digging through bargain bins before. Like,
yeah. This is one you might want to send it off if you can. If you've got a silver lying around, it might be worth getting a sneaky grade on it.
Well, let's wait another 12 months for that. I don't think you want to spend $100+ on Zeke Naji to get this bad boy graded.
Oh, come on, you never know. He could be the next. It could be. No, I'm getting a little bit carried away. But this is when the $15 slabs come back, right?
Definitely.
This is what the $15 service is for.
Yeah. Look, I suppose there's 2 thoughts for me right now. I think this is more like you're just buying up raws and you're putting them away because, he's getting opportunity now and he's playing really well. I think that's a very reasonable thing to say.
That's fair.
Or
That's
you can
fair.
say, well, I want to play the flip game and buy him now and sell him in, 6 months. I think that could be a really good play too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's but it's nice to have a feel good story rather than doom and gloom.
Yeah.
With the poor Nuggets just taking hit after hit at the moment.
Yep. No, for sure.
All right. So, what should we cover next?
Let's go to
There's
our
not much
listener
else
question.
around the. I was going to say there's not much else happening around the league, given it's only been a few days since since we last talked. But I do believe you're right. We do have another listener question.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So John O'Hardy, he's actually from US Sports Cards Australia. Really quick question, but who's the next vet to load up on?
So, all right, we had a pre-discussion about this, and I
Yep.
think we didn't come to a complete resolution. But
That's okay.
the next vet to load up on. At what stage in your career are you considered a veteran?
I think in the card collecting capacity, it's anything after rookie year.
Okay, I would have said year 2. After year 2 or 3, then you kind of it's open. But
yeah, I think in the real world, 100%, I agree with you on that. But there's a huge delineation between a rookie year card and a second year card.
Oh, come on! I thought second year was the new rookie card. Everyone's like, I've got a second year Zion. I've got a second year this. I've got a set. Like, I don't care what year. If it's not the rookie year, it's irrelevant, isn't it?
I'm okay with that because if you go back 12 months, like remember how much people were paying for Zions, right?
Yeah.
And then,
well, Simmons, and I'm not ragging on him this time, but Ben Simmons, when Prism launched his second year card, it was in the rookie template.
Yeah, that was just sneaky though.
Because they put him to. Because they.
I still find that confusing. Yeah.
You mean 2-time rookie of the year, Ben Simmons? That joke will never get old. No, but yeah, it was weird that they did that.
No, but the second year cards, I think the reason why there was not value to be had, but people were buying them is because they couldn't afford a rookie card, so that was like the next best thing.
Okay, that's an interesting way to look at it.
And I'm totally fine with that. Like if that's what your budget dictates to, then you're doing the responsible thing. You're keeping your missus happy. Like this is the path you should walk.
What would you think if Prism introduced effectively a sophomore card template? Imagine they come out with a template that says this is a second year card.
No, I need to have time to think about this properly, but my initial reaction is I'm shaking my head.
And you're like, please don't do it.
I can feel the tension going through my temples. I'm getting a headache.
And if they came out with a cool little badge to put on it, it would be amazing.
God, no, please.
Come on, let's feed the trolls. Come on.
I'm going to cut this out of the podcast. We don't need them even sniffing this. Not that Panini are listening to our podcast, but geez, come on.
You never know. Panini could do something sneaky and come out with it just before Fanatics take over. You imagine that? They just like come out with this sophomore template. No, don't do it, Panini.
So, all right. Why don't we make it just in the card collecting world? If a veteran is anything that's not rookie, how about that? Yeah, because that practically would work too.
Yeah, we're not talking about rookies. We're talking about established players.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair. All right. I'm not going to go with the next person I would load up, but I think I see a bit of value in someone that had value early, dropped off, and I think it's time. It might be time to revisit, and that's Lonzo Ball.
Okay.
I'm
totally fine with that.
I've got a feeling that this new home in Chicago is the right place for Lonzo. And Chicago, there are a lot of Chicago fans out there.
Yep.
I do think about the team very specifically. I think over the weeks I've said I'm not sure about people in low market teams, but Chicago, because of the GOAT, Jordan, Chicago has a lot of fans. and those fans like to follow a player. So I'm sure now that Lonzo's on board, there's a lot of Chicago fans out there that would like to start collecting a player.
Yep.
Lonzo over the last 3 months has seen a near 40% increase in the price of his Silver Prism PSA 10. So back
He's an
up around
interesting
that.
one.
Yeah, $500 for a Silver Prism.
Yeah. Interesting because he was drafted into a huge market. Now he's ended up into another one too.
Yep. And he as I said, he did time in New Orleans, which seems to be the graveyard of any great potential player's career.
Yep.
Rest in peace, Zion. And yeah, he's now in Chicago. He's getting a lot of recognition because he's in a good system. He's fitting in very well with his teammates.
Yep.
And I guess as a double-edged thing, I haven't even done the research on it. But what about DeMar DeRozan? He's actually, you know what I mean? Like getting into a...
Yeah, DeRozan's averaging 26.4 points per game this year.
Yeah. Like DeMar is on fire, and now he's playing for a real franchise, I guess. And that's not like a big market franchise.
Yep.
So he's going to have people that'll be after his cards.
Yep.
Let's have a look.
Look, I think your rationale has really good legs. I think that could definitely work.
But DeMar's an interesting one because I mean he definitely wasn't getting much when he was at the Spurs and even in Toronto.
Yeah.
So, interesting. Just an interesting one. No sales to display on DeRozan's. But yes, I think Lonzo's the one to get on. I think he is resurrecting his career in Chicago and will be one of two very, very successful ball brothers.
Yep.
How about yourself?
Good. So the way I perceived this question was, who's the next vet, as in vet superstar, to load up on? So we can rule out Curry, we can rule out LeBron and Luka. Not so much because he's a super established vet, just for the fact that his prices are generally really high.
Yeah. You can't load up on something that's already at its peak, right?
Well,
you can.
Actually, he's regressed quite a bit lately.
Has he?
He's down like 40%. Not everything, but there's spaces that Luka has gone down a bit.
Yeah. What about Curry, though? Curry's like the resurgence.
I think
maybe
Curry's a first ballot Hall of Famer for me. So to me, he's not even in the conversation. Like, he's already been loaded up. He's done. So I suppose I was trying to think about the next tier down.
Yep.
So I had a few different names on my list. Kevin Durant was on the list.
Yeah. Interesting one. Oh, kind of the opposite of Lonzo, Kevin Durant.
Yeah. I thought maybe Trae Young. I thought maybe Jokic. Maybe Tatum. They were the other ones that I was sort of tossing up. But when I started to look through the card values, nothing was really, sticking out to me that much. And my next one was Anthony Davis. And his prices are high, particularly his rookie card stuff. And his silver stuff is like $4,800 for a PSA 10. So let's move past that, though.
Yeah.
So if you go to Card Ladder and you just go to the Anthony Davis directory, just take your time and move through some stuff. So there's a 2012 past and present PSA 10 last sold for $99. I think that's really nice value. A Donruss Marvels last sold for $2. Again, I think that's really nice. 2012 Brilliance last sold PSA 10 $75. So there's lots of examples that you can pick up stuff for less than $100. But there's some also really nice ones down here too. A 2016 Excalibur, the Kaboom, $125. To me, that seems like a home run. If you're getting a Kaboom, if you're getting even this one here, which I'm very, very partial to, the Auroras 2017 Court Kings, Last sold for $99 raw.
And
I've got
there's a lot of value there. Yeah, you're right.
I've got no troubles at all if I'm dropping, if he's my PC and I'm thinking about who is the next sort of, big boy going to be, because watching Anthony Davis play basketball for me is, I really have flashbacks to Magic Johnson. I just get these feelings that there's nothing this guy can't do on the basketball court.
Yeah.
And I know he's had problems with injuries and all that sort of stuff, but he's still a really young guy and he's got a lot of, years left in him. Yeah, I just think if you're spending
value. Yeah,
$100 and you're getting a case hit of Anthony Davis, like that's insane. So yes, you're not going to pick up a rookie card, for that much. That's done and dusted. But
yeah, you're definitely not going to get a Prism base super cheap.
Yep.
And you're definitely not going on a hunt for silver Prisms. But you're right. There's some serious value.
Yeah, I feel fine with if I was spending $100 US on some of these cards, I'm fine with it.
Yeah. No, I think you've picked a good one there, and he does play for a big franchise.
That's the other thing. I don't think he's going to leave LA either. I get the feeling that that's him. He's done.
we're gonna have to suffer with him for years. That's right. No, look, I think he's played really well. It frustrates me when he gets injured, and they seem like soft injuries.
He seems always injured.
Yep.
Like even every game, he seems to get like a hit or he takes a fall or something like that. He's always, pulling up his knee protectors, all this sort of stuff.
It's like he was under the impression that basketball was a non-contact sport, which it is not. Oh boy. But yes, no, I think they're both very interesting investments. Interesting that the change in team both come from New Orleans.
That is true. A lot of talent's gone through that town.
Yeah. Just doesn't seem to be able to harness it whilst in that town.
All right. Now we're talking about Pelicans. Did you see the picture of Zion the last couple of days in that red tracksuit?
I was holding back. You saw one of my comments on a group chat. So
it is unbelievable.
It looks like he's eaten the whole G League team. Seriously, that man. Red is not
unbelievable.
Flattering. Yeah, red is not a flattering color, Zion.
Unbelievable. And I had in a private message someone say to me that the Pelicans have publicly said he's now got a food addiction. I couldn't find that anywhere on the internet, but
oh no,
it actually makes a little bit of sense as to the appearance.
Stress eating, comfort. I'm not going to make like if you've got a problem, literally has a problem with eating. It's a very very sad, sad situation. But yeah, like far out. This is not good news for Zion Watch. Going to take him some time. Look, James Harden trims down before the playoffs.
He's looking better.
He gets better and better and better as he goes.
Yeah, he's definitely looking better.
So, look, it's possible. And Zion has slimmed down before. So, I think it's possible. I think it'll be okay. I hope it'll be okay. That's the, yeah.
I hope we haven't seen his peak already. That would just be devastating.
Well, that's it. Like, I just hope he's healthy enough to take the court. Like, I want him to be injury free, at a good playing weight. No joke intended at all. Just want to see the best of him. Like, I think, like, it's one thing to make jokes and mock, but really, as fans of the game, we're missing out on potentially a really good player from taking the court.
Yeah,
which is sort of missing out on the spectacle of basketball at the highest level.
Yeah, definitely.
We can see a lot more coming out of New Orleans, having a fit and healthy Zion.
So one tweet I did find was basically saying that he was almost doing this on purpose to push himself out of New Orleans.
Wow. already.
I couldn't find anything that, reinforced that the Pelicans did say he had an eating disorder, but what one tweet I could find, again, was just that. I think that's a very interesting concept.
Where does he go?
He's publicly been on the record to say he wants to go to the Knicks.
Interesting.
And the Knicks have basically built their roster to trade for a superstar.
It'd be interesting to see him in New York. I was gonna. Oh, no, maybe I did see. I've seen some comments about that, but it's not gonna. Yeah, it's like he's not going to be able to get off the food if he goes to New York. That's for sure.
Where do you think the food is better, New Orleans or New York?
No, both. You're just going to have lots of food options.
Yeah, I feel like I ate
sleeps.
way more when I was in New Orleans, though.
Yeah.
So expensive in New York.
True, but like if it's the city that doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
Means you can eat at any time of the day. Second breakfast, third breakfast, fourth breakfast.
Alrighty, man.
Enough of Zion.
Let's do the manifesto, part 3.
Part 3. A bit of a baseball reference, really, was part 3 of the manifesto. So really, what was the title? What innings are we in?
Yep. Prices, people, and companies.
Yep. I think it was a very good read. It was interesting where he saw everybody. If I wasn't when I sort of took a step back and thought about it, like it scales and it's probably not, but you've got like what prices are ahead there in like the 5th, 6th innings.
Yep.
People are sort of in the middle there in the 4th and 5th. So people are sort of just trailing prices where prices are at. And then you've got companies, and companies are encompasses everything. It's grading. It's people like us. It's podcasters. It's, you know what I mean? Like it's hobby stores. It's everybody in the hobby.
Yep.
That's involved in it's breakers. It's
There's a lot of pieces, a lot of moving parts in there, isn't there?
And he's suggesting that the companies and I tend to agree to an extent are in the 3rd, maybe 4th innings. So they're trailing because of the way. I think it'd be COVID. My opinion is it's COVID. The prices kind of went nuts. People have started to catch up, and the companies are going, "What the hell do we do?"
Yep.
And they're just trying to figure out how they fit in. But there's definitely room to move around. Great read.
Where do you think he fits into himself, or where does he see himself fitting into this equation?
I see,
particularly now that he's taken over Fanatics.
I think the point he's making here, and this is purely implied, it's not. There's nothing that sort of pops out, is that prices have gone through the roof. People are just starting to catch on to it, and companies aren't sure where they're going. Now, he actually goes in to go, don't think this is going to be some backdoor roadmap as to what's happening with Fanatics, but I think he knows what he's got. He identifies that the companies are behind, that the businesses in the industry aren't all over this yet.
Yep.
They haven't maximized the system, and companies, and I think with his vision, his plan is to move companies up into the on par with prices. I don't know. I think that's what he's saying. He's like, there's so much room to innovate still, and the business world and the companies haven't caught up yet. I think it's sort of where he's getting at. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, when I read the list that he's put down of who's come into the marketplace the last 2 years, it really makes me think, but also too, it is quite amazing how much growth there has been in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Because even the list of the grading companies, Jenna Mint, CardScore, CGC, HDA, RCG, ISE, then we got Forensics, we got the boys that do Platinum in Australia. Like, there must be another 20 more, surely, right? There's the ones that he's listed. Yeah. And then the other one about breaking. So I reckon there must be 1,000 new breakers in the last 2 years, because there's maybe once or twice a week on, say, Card Addicts Australia, someone will say, "Where are the breakers? I want to jump into a break," and there might be 20 or 25 different guys who are listing their breaks on there,
Yep.
and maybe half of them I've just never heard of before, and maybe the other half, I've sort of seen around a little bit, but not so much. So
Yeah.
I think in that particular space, it just feels like every week there's someone new coming into it.
It's interesting. And at what point does that sort of stop, though? I guess with new people in the hobby, there are people that just want to break all the time.
Yep.
But there's got to come a point where it's just not financially viable for the customers and the breakers to have a diluted market. I mean, you've got, obviously you're a lot closer to this side of it than I am. How do you find it?
I think the last 12 months has been insanely competitive.
Yeah.
And I've definitely noticed a massive change in terms of breaks filling, and then the way people interact with you. I would say traditionally it was almost off limits that someone wouldn't make you an offer on your break price. You list a break price,
Yeah.
and then, that's the price, right?
That's it.
And somehow
Isn't that how
we
it
were
works?
kind of untouchable. But in the rest of the card community, you don't think twice about lowballing some dude if he's putting a card up, even if it's a reasonable price, right? It's so true. You look through pages and forums and stuff like that,
Yep.
people are lowballing even if it's a reasonable price.
Yeah.
Whereas, where now I would say more and more people are making offers on break spots. So
wow.
I'd say
I've never seen people make offers on break spots.
usually it'll be by PM.
Yeah, of course. But just the concept is just but don't the breakers no, you set the price.
Look, I don't have a massive deal with it. I'm never offended by it because, you know what I mean? No one gets offended if someone lowballs you on a card, right? So it's the same deal. It's exactly the same deal. So, whatever to me. But more the point I'm trying to make is I just think at the moment, I'm not really too sure exactly the point that he's trying to make there. I think he's more just trying to say we've had an insane amount of growth, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. Because my feeling is that's the tip of the iceberg, and then there's this huge kind of iceberg sitting underneath the ocean. It's just to me, it's insane. How much growth has been going on. So maybe he's captured that part of it, really, really well.
Yeah.
And then he goes on.
Well, it's interesting because he compared it to the 90s stock market, and he also compared it to 80s card collecting, which is interesting because we all know that the 90s card era was just the tsunami of wax.
Yep.
It was literally the amount of product they produced was insane. And I guess that was on the back of the boom of the 80s.
But I think the difference for me between now and then is if you think about it, distribution must have been much different because you could go to, your local newsagent or, toy store, and they would have lots of stuff to purchase on hand, right?
For sure.
But you don't really have that same experience these days.
This has even changed over recent years, though. You know what I mean? I could pick up hobby boxes relatively easy and go and sell them down at the local basketball stadium, no problems. And they were reasonable prices, and that wasn't even at wholesale. And that's great. Eventually, you sort of do enough turnover, and you get to that wholesaler status. But yeah, it wasn't difficult. You'd call up the distributor, you'd go, "Hey, have you got whatever the set?" Nate, when Prism Retail launched, I had no problem in acquiring 20 boxes of Prism Retail as a small game store. Like basketball was not our main thing, but we wanted a little bit of it there, and it was easy.
Yep.
We've called our same distributor these days, and they're like, sorry, there's a wait list.
Yep.
It's allocated. And if you're not one of the people that's been allocated stock, stiff shit, you're done. Join the queue. So
I couldn't even imagine how you get onto that list.
Yeah.
There'd be a waiting list for a waiting list, I reckon.
Yeah. Look, we've I've reached out through contacts to get on an expression of interest to be on said waiting list.
There you go.
But it's like that's just because of purchasing other products through that distributor.
Yep.
And they're like, yeah, sorry, basketball's pretty crazy right now. And we're like, crazy? It's insane. Problem is, I know that distributor's also the ones that stock EB and the like. And it's for them, distributors, so it's not the wholesaler's fault. They get the product at a fixed price. Right?
Yeah.
All they're concerned with as a distributor is turning that money over. So if they've got customers that are going to buy out all their stock, like, great, we bought it in for price A and we get rid of it very quickly for price B. That is just money. A fixed small portion of money.
Yep.
And they get that. So look, no criticism of the distribution companies. I just think the distribution model is a bit flawed at the moment because of the demand. And that's what he's talking about, is like the boom in the 90s in the stock market, this insane demand, these new investors coming in, prices are soaring because there's new blood. There's people investing in stocks for the first time ever.
Yeah.
And now we've got people investing in cards for the first time ever.
Yeah, and I think there was a lot of those people coming in, even people that, don't care for basketball cards, to be perfectly honest.
Yep, correct.
They just thought it was a good investment.
They do, because the internet. We have the internet these days. That is terrifying. Like in the 90s, people read this stuff in newspapers. You know what I mean? Like the stock exchange explosions, blowing up and people investing.
That distribution of information just makes everything easy, doesn't it?
It was like you'd have to read about it in the back, in the finance section of the newspaper, maybe see a story on television. But nowadays, YouTube it. Smartest investments 2021, sports cards.
I totally believe this, and I've got nothing to prove it, but I think hedge funds, investment groups have been buying up sealed product because...
They have to be. Have to be. Look at the YouTube channel. Was it Sports Card Investor?
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to work this out, right? But if you can work out, how many numbered cards are per box, and then, how many actual cards there are of that numbered set, and then you sort of multiply that out by hobby box and retail and all that sort of stuff. Like, the number is staggering of sealed product that there must be. So where has all this stuff gone? Because it hasn't all been bought by collectors, and it hasn't all been snapped up by breakers.
And it hasn't been dumped at the bottom of a river.
I think breakers get a lot of criticism, and look, 50% or 60, 70%, it's true. We're scumbags and all that sort of stuff, like whatever. But we're not responsible for everything terrible that's happened in the card space the last couple of years. There's other, influences and factors that are going on. Like,
I agree.
There has to be all this sealed product sitting somewhere.
Yep. And look, that's already changed. Imagine the 90s where there was unlimited product.
Yeah.
We didn't have breakers then. We had kids going down to the newsagents and buying a pack of cards. It was a big deal if somebody bought a display box of cards.
Yeah.
Right? Nowadays, you buy cases, not just the display box, because the display box has got 4 packs in it. Like the hobby's changed and evolved.
Yep.
It's a brave new world, but it feels like one of those boom periods. And I think the point in the manifesto here is that the prices are going through the roof. People are slowly catching up to that, and businesses are a little bit behind because they don't know what opportunities they've got on their doorstep, because there are a lot of opportunities out there. And if they don't figure them out in the next 3 or 4 years, Josh Luber is going to make sure that they are all out on the table. He's going to innovate, and recreate the space.
Yeah, so hold that thought, right? And just scroll down to the picture that he put up of the innings and the prices, people and companies.
Yep.
What do you think is the message he's trying to send here? Because I perceive this, that he believes that the companies are the furthest behind and that they need more work, that the number of people in the hobby potentially could double over the next 10 years, say.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the thing that I'm struggling the most with. Does it mean that prices are only around the 60 to 70% mark and he's anticipating another 30% rise? Because particularly in the last 12 months, even if you look at the last 1 month, like prices have eased off a lot. And that's like one thing I'm noticing. So when I'm buying stock on my credit card,
Mm-hmm.
Whatever I spend these days, I feel like I'm almost getting not double, but at least, another 50% more back in my mailbox, that I normally would be getting. So,
Yeah.
Keeping
The
that in
cost
mind.
of the price of cards the price of product is declining.
Oh, dramatically, right? Yeah. So
Yeah.
in my mind, maybe now actually the price point should be, say, 4 or 5. But by that rationale, does he still see, that much more space to sort of upcharge or, increase the price on? Because
I don't think that this model or this image is designed to say it's always going to be like that. I think that prices have spiked and they'll come back to some form of normality as people catch up with the influx of people to the hobby.
Yep.
So that's where people end up in that 5-6 bracket, right? Once all the new investors or the new people introduced to the hobby go from rookie to veteran status.
Yep.
Yeah. So then they get to the 5-6. Companies are sitting there going, how do we capitalize on this growth in people? And they find new ways to innovate and then they catch up. I think I think prices are ahead of where they should be, and they'll drop off a little bit and stabilize.
Mm-hmm.
I think people will catch up, and then companies will make leaps forward.
Yeah,
and there'll be a lot of new innovation. That's my takeaway from that image. It's just saying that prices have led the way and drawn the people in, and now the companies need to catch up.
Oh, mate, I think what you just said then is spot on, isn't it? Because I think, being brutally honest, as much as we all love cards and we all love basketball, there's also the dollar that brings you back.
Yep.
And I think if you deny that,
Yep.
you're probably tricking yourself.
Yeah.
Look, I'm really overanalyzing this to the nth degree now, but I actually wonder if this is his almost his timeline of him being in his position at Fanatics. So he's sort of entering in at the 3rd innings and he wants to leave at the 9th. So
yeah, that's a fair. I like that. I do like that. He's
Yeah,
like, it's
and
early in the game. I'm about to come and innovate
he's going to move these companies up to the 9th innings, right? He's going to get all these people into the hobby and he's going to make all these people money.
He's going to usher the companies through the rest of this inning.
Yeah.
Through the rest of the innings. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
How does that fare for consumers? Well, maybe if we're paying...
I think, honestly, Josh Luber, I have a lot of faith in this man because he is a card collector. And it's not because he's a card collector that knows very famous people that spend millions of dollars on cardboard.
No.
It's because he started as a grassroots collector.
Yeah.
And a grassroots collector will always remember what it was like to walk in to a hobby shop and buy a pack of cards and pull your favorite player out when you're a child.
Yeah.
And go, you know what? I want my kids to feel that. I want other children to have that elation when they pull their favorite player in an insert and go, oh my God, Dad's looking at it going, that's a $3 card. I don't really care. the kid is like he's had a second Christmas.
Yeah.
And that is what keeps people in the hobby, which keeps those companies going. And he knows that. If you don't have happy people in your hobby, you don't have a hobby. You end up with a bunch of investors and they become like commodities.
Yeah.
They get traded as commodities, and then they're not actually basketball cards. They could be anything.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And there is an element of people that are in this hobby literally just looking at the movements
numbers.
going up and down, right?
Yep. And but I do think at the heart of it, Josh Luber is very much about the people because he was one of us. Like, you know what I mean? Like a collector at heart. And I think he's putting the gauntlet down. He's laid the gauntlet. He's gone, companies, you guys have got to pull your finger out and catch up.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, I will. And that's really, he's laying down the challenge now. You've got 4.5, 5 years, or 4 years. And then I'm going to innovate. If you guys can't figure it out, I'm going to do it. Well, that's what Fanatics is going to be.
So this is almost how much I've lost my way in some ways. So let's talk about Prism Retail.
Yep.
So the price of that box off the top of my head is 400 AUD.
Yep.
But
I think that's what I paid for a box. Yeah.
I think the actual price should be delivered like 110 AUD to me. That's what I think it should be. And I think that's what Panini would sell it for.
Agreed.
But keeping in mind, they probably sell it for $50, and then by the time all the distributors get their hands on it, right?
What year was Luca?
18, 19.
All right. What was a box of Prism Retail? What would you expect
off the top
nowadays?
Off the top of my head, I'm pretty sure I got some for like 200, 250.
Cool. What do you?
Because that was awesome
now?
To break. There was a point in time that was awesome to break. Yeah.
What do you reckon they're worth now?
Oh, it's probably like $1,000 US.
Cool. $45 a box I paid.
Yep.
At wholesale. It was $45.
Okay, great. So let's hold that thought, right? And then let's look at the picture again, and because this is kind of like where I'm going with this. Because I'm holding this thought, and I'm almost certain this is what's going to happen. Fanatics is not going to make cards; they're going to distribute them. So, in terms of prices, they can turn their margin from a 5 or a 6 up to a 9, but still reduce prices for us. Because if they're selling Prism Retail for us for $200, which is still 4x of what they would have been getting for it if they're selling it for $50 a box. But I'm still saving 50% because I'm not paying $400 a box. Now I'm paying $200 direct from Fanatics. Like, that makes sense. And also you could sell that to shareholders, and you could sell that to your executives of, like what his vision is going to be. I think I'm really overanalyzing this graphic like to the nth degree now, but I see a lot in this picture, and
picture tells 1,000 words, right?
Yeah.
But look at what's under it. So what happens when all these new companies start hitting their stride and catch up?
Yep.
That's a challenge. That's telling people to figure it out. Because I think he's figured it out.
Oh, I can't imagine he's gone into this job without having,
he's got plans to get to the 7th, 8th inning.
Yep.
And a vision for the 9th, if that makes sense. Like using this analogy. But yeah, I think it's very interesting. And actually I'm gonna hold my other thought back for our next for our final discussion point.
Yep.
But yes, the part 3 of the manifesto. That's we're really starting to get deep. I like it.
Deep dive.
As I said, I think I've said this every time. If you haven't read it, just go. Trading cards are cool again. Just download it, read it. It's mind blowing. It's amazing, and
even if it takes you 2 weeks, it's a nice little read. And I'm not a big reader. I'm not going to lie to you anymore. I spend half my time flicking through Facebook feeds at basketball card sales.
That's
my
right.
reading these days.
So I try and avoid doing that. I just watch TikTok now mindlessly. I'm kidding.
not on TikTok.
No, I watch too many TikToks, but I'm not that brainless. It's like, yes. Or I watch basketball, but hey, we all have
Alrighty,
our
mate.
vice.
What do you say we round this bad boy off?
All right, now look, it's not a great story, but I think it raises a question, and I think we've got a bit of overlap here.
Hit me.
Tyson Beck,
Yep.
the man, the myth, the legend,
Let's go.
has come out. We were talking about it the other week. He had Giannis on board. Today was the day that his Steph Curry launch.
Yep.
Right? Big hype around this. Getting people on board, like social media. He was tweeting out saying, "You 5 hours to go. Not long now till it all goes live on the store."
Hyper machine.
Hype. Now, just so we know, just to clarify, Tyson Beck had a net total of about 800 products.
What do you mean by that, mate?
800 cards to purchase.
Okay. Of
right?
Steph Curry?
Of Steph Curry.
Sure.
This is the Curry release. So
Yep.
different numberings, et cetera, et cetera.
But 800 total.
Total number of single cards available, say 800. And I read this, I think it was on one of Tyson's feeds.
That's fine. I'm not going to fact check it.
He got very distraught through the day. And what's our rating on the this podcast? Am I allowed to quote what he said?
Go.
It was the bots with a lot of angry faces.
Yep.
So
I'll that out.
Bleep that.
Yeah.
So what are we looking at? We're looking at 60,000 logins to try and acquire these 800 cards. Now, Tyson is an amazing human being.
Yep.
And has a huge following, especially in Australia.
Hard worker, self-made man. I've got a lot of respect for those people.
But as his post would suggest, I don't think 60,000 people logged on this morning to try and acquire some of his cards. Now, this leads me to my discussion point here is, are bots destroying our hobby? Because I've been a victim of this when I've gone, I'm going to get me some product on EB Games. At 6 seconds after 10 o'clock hits, everything is sold out.
Yep.
There is no way human beings can do this and go through the checkout process. There's got to be a solution. There's got to be, and I know a lot of these companies like EB Games, and this is where EB is very different to Tyson. Tyson was so hurt by this and feels so bad for all the collectors that follow him and have bought off him in the past, that the quote-unquote bots, and these are people with botting software that are literally acquiring the cards to flip them, to sell them at a significant markup.
Yep.
This is what happens. And then all of a sudden you see a bunch of listings on eBay or on the marketplace or wherever, and prices get inflated. It takes people away from buying product.
So are you asking for actual solutions of what he should do moving forward? Or
not even him, as like, how do we stop people cheating with regards to product availability?
Yep.
And this is what I was talking about with the manifesto bit, the overlap.
Yep.
Is in what you're saying, if Fanatics handle distribution and increase their prices accordingly, right? Does that cut out the bots? Or does that inflate the prices further?
So Fanatics have problems with bots, and I don't think that's
not a secret.
No.
Do they fix that before they go live, though?
It's almost like well known.
Yeah.
But so what if he gets in bed with Luber and he puts his stuff on StockX and they do Dutch auctions?
Yeah.
What if he gets in bed with eBay and he auctions off his 800 cards?
Does that hurt his collector, but his private collectors that that have been buying? You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't. I know he can't make this choice. This is the crux of it. He cannot choose who purchases his product. investors are using botting technology
Yeah.
to acquire the cards before human beings.
I don't want to be mean, but I don't think these people are investors. I think they're more just
Fanboys?
I don't know. I don't think we should give them a legitimate title like investors. I mean, investors are kind of like
All right, we'll call them flippers. Floppers? Sharks.
they're people I wouldn't go for coffee with. Can I say that?
Yeah, we'll call the undesirables of the industry. How's that?
I was trying to say it in a nicer way. I was trying to think of the nicest way.
I'm going the other way. Like I just think it raises a lot of ethical issues for me. It takes the fun out of the game, and this is, you look at it, and if bots are acquiring cards so that collectors can't, so the people that would buy the product can't get it.
Yeah.
Think about how things flow downhill, right? So you've got the top product gets bought out by an investment company, say, right? So National Treasure's unavailable because some rich unknown party used some botting software to buy all the product. High-end people then go, I don't get National Treasures, I'm going to go for Chronicles, which is probably a bit of a drop, but you know what I mean? Like they go to the mid-tier
I see your point. Yeah.
And it
Keep
flows
going.
down to the point where the mid-tier guys that were going to buy some
Chronicles.
some Chronicles,
Yeah.
go, well, stuff you guys. I'm gonna buy all of the hoops.
Because you miss out on Chronicles, do you mean?
Yep, I missed out on Chronicles. There's nothing in the mid-range section that I can buy because the robots took them all. I go, okay, well, I'm going to buy all of the Don Russ and hoops because that's all that's left. That means the kid that's just finished his game on a Saturday afternoon scores his first bucket in his debut or first bucket for the season, highest score ever, whatever. And Dad is so proud of him. He goes, you know what? We'll go down the shop and I'll buy a pack of basketball cards. That kid doesn't get a pack of basketball cards. Low end, inserts mean nothing, basketball cards. These mid and high end collectors, there's no value in it for them. But because they're missing out on their product, these children are missing out. And this is an exaggeration, of course, but
I see the point you're trying to make, though.
But do you know what I mean? Because
Dad's just pushing it all downhill.
Dad's going to be pissy because he didn't get his Chronicles. Because some a-hole that normally buys National Treasures couldn't get his National Treasures. It's this evil circle where I don't know. In this age of technology, I feel like humans are the ones that are stopped. I feel like humans are busy trying to tell a computer that they're not a robot, while the robots are too smart, get past that rubbish, and take all the product.
Yeah.
Like I'm there sitting there typing, trying to figure out how many zebra crossings there are in a friggin' set of pictures, while the bots have already taken all the product.
The bots are just too smart for us, man.
I'm slamming the table, going, I'm telling you, I'm not a robot, and the bots are through it. It's frustrating, and I don't know what the solution is. That's probably even more frustrating.
I think if you put 800 cards up at a time on eBay, that would be a very fair way to, because then you've got so many
800
cards.
options. Like you mean simultaneously list them all?
Exactly. Put them up at exactly the same time. They end at the same time.
Wow.
How many bots could
imagine that? Like
destroy
literally,
that?
There's 200 auctions of a card numbered to 200.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, that would cost him 15%. Like that's a major drawback.
That's
being pragmatic here.
Yeah.
Or 16%, whatever it costs you. But I think something like that, and then Dutch auction it, just like what Panini does. That
I like the Dutch auction.
People have complained about that, but I think also too, no one's complaining they can't get boxes now. It takes out all the bots.
Yeah.
And then what StockX does is, just as good, if not better. I think they have a few more problems with particularly Australian addresses, because when Cherry did their StockX release, I think that was just
that was a nightmare.
more complaints than packs delivered.
Yep. Yeah, it was pretty bad. But yeah, I don't know. It's a tricky one. But I think the funny part is, I think this does overlap with the manifesto part 3, because
Sure.
how do the companies catch up? The bots are part of the people.
I'm assuming there'll be a few boys that have been with Tyson from the start, and they would have accounts that would have X amount of purchases and X amount of, sales that have been documented. Could you give these people like a point certificate? And these guys get to go into the shop first and buy one card.
Yep.
And then at least hardcore fans who have loved you from the start, get something.
Do you know what the funny thing is? There's also another overlap. What about
Hit me.
NFTs?
Talk to me.
Well, the NFTs become the way to get access to the cards. They become your golden tickets. I just think I think this is the part. This is what Josh Luber is referring to when he's asking companies to innovate and catch up.
Okay. But how does the NFT give them a physical card? I'm
No,
sorry.
so it's actually like a ticket. So NFTs it's a non-fungible token, yeah?
Sure.
So all it is it's a bit of property. It's an asset. That asset can be a ticket. That asset can give you entry to a spot in the line to get your preferred card. It doesn't have to be the card itself. It doesn't have to be an image. It's just a token.
Okay. Just because I'm clearly 2 steps behind your idea here, but where would that come from? Like their previous purchase, they also get an NFT for the next purchase. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Well, I don't know how they would work it in, but it'd give it some level of exclusivity to a guaranteed product.
Yep.
I mean, and that takes it takes the power out of the hands of the bots.
I saw Dale put something up on Cherry Crew a while back that they identified 5 boxes. I think it was football cards.
Yeah.
5 boxes have been bought by bots, and they cancelled the order and put them back out to the wild.
I like it.
So there must be some way that
they prove they're robots? Like, I'm sorry, I'm going back to the capture tests.
Could it be from an IP address?
Yeah.
Look, I have no idea. But my point of that is if you're going to be giving out NFTs to people, you need to be 100% sure that you're not giving an NFT fast track into the queue to a bot, because that just self-perpetuates the problem.
Yeah. The other problem there, and this is unfortunately the way evolution works, is we get security that stops robots today. As soon as this technology is available, there are people designing technology to get past this technology.
Yeah, for real.
That's the world we live in.
100%.
Aside from
Dutch auction is undefeated, though.
Dutch auction or giant warehouses where people have to come in person to collect to buy product. You remember years ago, when you had to wait for tickets to an event, people would be sleeping out ahead of
ticket tag.
Yeah,
that's so funny, isn't it?
Only way to get a grand final ticket was to get in your sleeping bag and sit out front of the store waiting for it to open. At 9 a.m. you could buy a ticket. If you're first in line, you got the ticket. I never had to do that because I got the online service. Was lucky, but
yeah, I did buy a couple of tickets over the counter, but my memory of that is mostly online. Yeah,
I was going to say I just kept refreshing the Ticketek page, hoping, and it was 9 o'clock, bang, grand final tickets. Did it twice? No, 3 times. I was lucky, but anyway,
anyway,
yeah.
This is a tangent of a tangent, really, isn't it now?
But it's I don't know. I think the bots are a problem, and I don't see a solution. I don't see an easy solution. I like the Dutch auctions. Does that still make it difficult for Joe Blow down the road to go and buy a pack of basketball cards for his son?
I think it's better than bots getting them. And look, I think maybe also too, we haven't said this, it's actually a massive compliment to Tyson in some ways. The fact that he's even in this situation, he probably didn't anticipate this.
He didn't anticipate being on whoever's running the bots. Obviously, it's a huge, huge compliment
Yep.
to be targeted by effectively a form of cyber attack to acquire your product. This is like this could be
The Russians are here.
This could be the script for the next Terminator movie. It's Skynet trying to acquire basketball cards.
Or the next Bond movie.
They figured it out. Skynet is AI has evolved that much. It's not going to kill John Connor anymore. It's going to acquire basketball cards, and this is how Skynet grows. In order to amass the funds needed to fund the robot army that is required, they're going to invest in basketball cards and do it by buying out cards online.
I think we should get a picture of Terminator for our cover for the podcast this week.
Yes, definitely a Terminator theme. Oh my god! But yes, that's my tirade. If anyone listening has a suggestion on how you would reasonable way you'd combat these bots, love to hear it.
For sure.
I just think poor Timmy down at the basketball stadium wants his pack of hoops for scoring his first goal.
Poor Timmy.
Yep.
All right, I think that's a really good segue to list all of our socials. So You Can't Comp This Instagram, at youcantcompthis Twitter. If you want to write us an email, youcantcompthis@gmail.com, and we've got a Facebook page too, You Can't Comp This Podcast. So please like us, retweet, follow us, all that stuff. We would
reach
love
out
a
on the
little bit of
socials.
support. Yeah, drop us a line.
Love to discuss topics here. So anyone that's got a question, reach out on the socials, reach out via email. Happy to field some questions and start some intense discussions about the way that Skynet's going to take over the world.
Yeah, we've had some great questions the last couple of weeks. It's fun for us to go through them and talk about them, pick them out. So we really appreciate it. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Final thoughts, mate?
Final thoughts. You need to go and have a fantastic holiday. I am super jealous.
Thanks.
Definitely, jelly. I'll be at work, but enjoy the time away. It's gonna be fantastic.
Come back all tanned up and
that's it. Long overdue holiday.
Awesome, mate. Thank you so much for a great episode. Thank you everyone for listening, and we'll catch you all next week.
See you guys.
Cheers.